Okay, here we go. Principles of nutrition, lesson B. And essentially what we're going to be doing here is building on the knowledge that we sort of gained in the last presentation. So there we looked predominantly at macronutrients and what their role are in the body. Today we're going to look mostly at something called micronutrients and what they're all about. And micronutrients are vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. So, vitamins are organic compounds that are essential for life, and the word organic meaning naturally occurring or generated by nature. So, these things that are generated by nature that we need to have in our bodies to live a happy and healthy life. We have minerals, which are also essential for us to live a good life with a well-functioning body, and we have phytonutrients. They're not essential, but they are beneficial in helping us to be more healthy. And vitamins are first up, and we only need vitamins in small amounts, and they are synthesized or created by plants. They're used and stored in animal tissues, and there are some vitamins that are fat soluble, so that they are transported and move around with fat in the body, and they are A, D, E, and K. And then we also have some water-soluble vitamins. So the water-soluble vitamins are the ones that can be broken down by water, and they are the whole B group and also vitamin C. And they all have a sort of real wide variety of real specific functions in the body that will break down in some of the later slides. As well as vitamins, we have minerals, and again, they're only needed in small amounts. They're absorbed into plants or into the earth or into rocks, and we then take them into our body through the foods that we eat. And minerals tend to come from metals or dissolved gases. And again, they're used and stored in our tissues, and they have very specific functions. So, here's some of the fat-soluble vitamins, alright? So, we have vitamin A, which helps us to stimulate gastric juices, plays a vital role in bone building, helps look after our retinal health, which is our vision, and it protects against pollution and degenerative damage. You're not going to be able to remember all of these, okay? But having an awareness of them will most definitely help you in the exam, but it'll also make you a better personal trainer too. So vitamin A comes from butter, natural, real butter from grass-fed cows, comes from whole eggs, liver, seafood, and cod liver oil. That's where we can get our vitamin A from. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is needed for calcium and phosphorus production. So very important to the energy system, because we're looking there at calcium and phosphorus as well. Helps us form strong bones and teeth, and it also can protect against cancer and multiple sclerosis. And again, we're looking at some very similar sources. We're looking at butter from grass-fed cows, we're looking at whole eggs, liver, seafood, and cod liver oil. Okay, you can also get vitamin D from sunlight as well. But if you're looking at it from a food point of view, that's where we want to be going for our vitamin D. Vitamin E looks after our blood circulation, helps repair tissues in the body and the maintenance of our cells, and make sure that things like our skin and nails and hair are all being produced in the correct way. Slows down the aging process, and it acts as an antioxidant. And it also, together with certain trace minerals, can protect against cancer and coronary heart disease. So we can get vitamin E from unrefined vegetable oils, so vegetables that have not been tampered with, pure, whole, natural vegetable oils. We also get it from butter, organ meats, so essentially that means stuff like offal, so liver, kidneys, depends on your diet and what you like eating, but those sort of offally type meats are where the vitamin E is at. Whole grains, raw nuts and seeds, dark leafy vegetables. So that's stuff like cabbage. We could be looking kale. We could be looking potentially spinach. Those sort of real dark green leafy type vegetables. Vitamin K is important in blood clotting. It helps to build our bones as well. And again, some very, very similar sources. Liver, whole eggs, butter, whole grains, and again, the dark green leafy veg. Vitamin B complex, so there's vitamin B1, B2, B3, etc, etc, etc. But what the whole vitamin B complex is all about is helping to promote healthy nerves, healthy skin, eyes, liver, giving us good muscle tone. Can also stop us from getting too tired and make sure our metabolism's working. Helps produce cholesterol and it maintains fertility and normal growth. Also looks after the formation of red blood cells and the maintenance of iron. And this comes from unrefined grains, fresh fruit, fresh veg, raw nuts, seafood, and organ meats and legumes as well. So that's like pulses and that sort of stuff. Then we have vitamin C, which I think is probably the most popular vitamin. Everyone knows about vitamin C. Looks after our immune system, getting rid of coughs and colds and that sort of stuff. But it also looks after stuff like capillary walls, lactation, make sure the adrenal glands working, helps healing of wounds. We get it from fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and also some organ meat too. Okay, we also want to look now at the minerals. And we've got calcium, chloride, magnesium, and phosphorus. Calcium is all about bone growth, muscular contraction, and keeping our body in balance for acid and alkali. I think everyone knows about calcium giving us strong bones. I think everyone knows that we can get calcium from dairy products, milk, yogurt, that sort of stuff. Also comes from fish with soft bones, but only if you eat the bones. So that's something like sardines, for example. People often eat the bones in sardines. You won't even realise that the bones are in there, they're that soft. But you've got to eat the bones if you want the calcium. And also some green leafy vegetables. We have chloride. Chloride looks after our acid and alkali balance. It aids protein, carbohydrate digestion. Comes from unprocessed sea salt and also coconut flesh. Magnesium. Magnesium looks after nerve transmission, bone formation, metabolism of carbs, absorption of other minerals, tough an animal, and magnesium can be valuable if you're feeling a bit sore after a workout. If you're quite prone to getting the DOMS, then magnesium can help take away that DOMS, and that comes from, again, unprocessed sea salt, fish, dairy, and nuts as well. And then we have phosphorus. Phosphorus helps the bones to grow, looks after our cell growth and makes sure that's okay, and also helps to regulate our kidneys. Comes from animal produce, whole grains, nuts, and pulses. Final minerals are potassium, sodium, and sulfur. Potassium looks after fluid balance and cellular chemistry, and its sources are again sea salt, nuts and veg. Sodium, essentially purest form salt, helps fluid balance in the body, helps your nerves are working correctly and that cells are functioning in the right way. And that can come from, again, unprocessed sea salt, zucchini, which we tend to call courgette in the UK, and meat-based broths. Then we also have sulfur. Sulfur helps us protect from infection, make sure our cells are formed in the right way, helps to form cartilage and skin, and also protects against radiation and pollution of the body. Comes from cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are things like sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, those sort of vegetables. Eggs and dairy products. There's also these trace minerals that, again, they can help. We need to have them in our diet, but they are trace minerals, so we only need them in very, very, very small amounts, and you can have a read through those on there, but we're not going to cover those in any great detail. Okay, healthy balance. So now we know what all the minerals and vitamins are all about. We have something called the Eat Well plate, and the Eat Well plate is something that was brought out by the Food Standards Agency, which is essentially part of our government here in the UK. And this Eat Well plate essentially tells us what we should be eating each day. So if we were to look at the plate and we were to give each of these areas a rough percentage, you might say that was about 30% of the plate, that was about 30% of the plate, maybe 2/20s, or a bit smaller portion there. My maths don't quite add up, but essentially this plate is a representation of how much food we should be eating from each of these food groups each day. So a real good, real big proportion, maybe 20 to 30% fruit and veg. 20 to 30% comes from bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, essentially starchy carbohydrates. 10-15%, we're looking maybe milk and dairy foods. 10-15% coming from meat, fish, eggs, beans, essentially non-dairy sources of protein. And then we've got a little sliver here, a little tiny bit for foods that are high in fat and sugar. So essentially chocolate bars, cakes, crisps, fizzy pop, all that stuff that you know is not really very good for your health. In order to help you, we don't normally do this very much on the online presentations, but to help you, what I want you to do, pop the video on pause, and we're going to have a go at the group task. So list down at least 3 foods that you currently eat regularly from each of the groups on this Eat Well plate. Okay, and I'll give you some examples. Just while you're working on it, you don't necessarily have to put it on pause. But while you're working on it, if it was me, I'm looking at fruit and veg. So I'm going to be going in the fruit and veg section. I tend to have quite a lot of spinach each day. Bananas, I'm very keen on. Apples, oranges. I do quite enjoy eating those. Stuff that I eat most days, I'd say I'd go with that. Stuff that's in my diet, but I don't necessarily eat it every day, could be really varied. I'm looking carrots, cauliflower, peas, peppers, onions, grapefruit, cucumber, lettuce, yeah? Any of these things could be coming from the fruit and vegetable group. Really simple in there. Bread, rice, potatoes and pasta. So in there, I very much like to eat cereal. Quite like eating granola. I do like my brown bread, and probably going sweet potatoes as well, which I'm quite keen on. Move around. I've got milk and dairy, so tend to have quite a bit of yogurt in my diet. A little bit of cheese here and there, and also like to go and sometimes milk. I do like cereal, so tend to have that with milk quite a lot. Okay, foods and drinks that are high in that sector. Personally, I'll try and stay away from them, but your examples are going to be stuff like cakes, biscuits, fizzy drinks, those sort of foods there that we know are not particularly great for us. Sorry. And then we have meat, fish, eggs and beans, so anything really. It could be your particular favourite cuts of meat, so it could be like, you eat quite a lot of salmon, you eat quite a lot of chicken breast, you like your turkey steaks. At the weekend you tend to have some sort of joint of meat, Sunday lunch type pork shoulder or belly draft, whatever it may be. That's what you're going to be looking at there coming out from that segment. You've also got the eggs and beans, so stuff like cannelloni beans, kidney beans, those sort of beans. And then once you've sort of written those down, have a think about options. You could swap, foods that you currently eat regularly from each of the. So identify 3 healthier options you could eat. So fruit and veg you're going to struggle with to replace with healthier options. So what you do need to bear in mind though is fruit contains a lot more sugar than vegetables. So if you find yourself having a lot of bananas, oranges, that is by no means the end of the world. But if you wanted to cut down your sugar content, you could look at replacing some of those with stuff that's got less sugar in it. And it's a rule of thumb really, but really what you'll find, if something is a brighter colour, it tends to have more sugar in it. If we're thinking peppers taste really quite sweet, oranges are sweet, bananas are sweet, they're the things that tend to have the brighter colours. Apricots, peaches, they're all bright colours. Stuff that is green, and particularly darker green, tends to have less sugar in it. So stuff like broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, what else could we go? Cabbage, we could go green beans, all those sort of kale, all those sort of vegetables tend to have less sugar in them. So that's the way you could look at being a bit more healthy. When we go across to the yellow section and we look at the bread, the rices, the potatoes, again, we need to be looking and trying to get the whole grain options in there. And the whole grain options are going to be the ones that are going to be more healthy for us. So instead of having white rice and white breads and white pastas, you might want to move and you might start with having whole grain bread and whole grain pasta. And I said that I was quite keen on granola, which has quite a high sugar content. I could look to have a whole grain type cereal instead, and look to make sure that you've not got too many refined carbohydrates in there. You've got your milk and dairy foods, and again, you need to be careful in how much fat you've got in each of those. So you could look at stuff like semi-skim milk, skim milk, but cheese is good. There's some good some good fats in there and stuff we do need to be getting into the body. Just don't go overboard, because we've got that nearly twice as much energy density in those foods as we covered earlier. So we can look there at just moderating that intake, making sure we're not going too overboard with the fats. I'm going to come back to the purple section. Meats, fishes and eggs. We covered it slightly earlier. Look at taking away some of those more fatty cuts of meat. Look at going with the leaner things. So look at going with your things like your chicken breast, your turkey breast. Look at make sure you're trying to get at least 2 portions of fish in there each week, especially your fatty fish, your stuff like your mackerels, your salmons, those sort of fish. But cod is very, very high protein. There's not too much fat in there. Salmons are good. Again, we've got eggs in there. Some people look at taking the egg yolk out. I don't really think there's any point doing that unless you're working with a real high level athlete. For the normal day-to-day person, and even your keen recreational athlete, no point at all taking the egg yolk out. Go with the whole egg. And then the area where you'll be able to make the most difference is within this fatty food area, the stuff that's high in sugars. And are we looking at having maybe carrot sticks and cucumber and hummus as a snack rather than going for a cake? Are we looking at, instead of having crisps with our sandwich at a lunchtime, we're looking at getting some fruit or some veg in there instead? Are we looking at, instead of having fizzy pop, we can have something like a squash instead, or a water that's got some fruit in there to give it some flavour? That's the area where you're going to get your big wins from. So that's the Eat Well plate, and we should now know all about the micronutrients and what they're all about and what they do. Should be able to explain the main food groups and the nutrients they contribute to the diet, and have and identify the calorific value of nutrients, which we've done, which is the 4, 4 and the 9. I know that one was a little bit me reading off the slides for quite a bit of it, but that is the best way to get the information across. So, need to have a recap. have a recap, and I'll see you at the next presentation.